right, welcome back. This is going to be part 13. Part 13 and my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. Now, the past several videos, I have brought up this gentleman right here called Lindsay Williams, who wrote this book here called The Energy Non-Crisis. The Energy Non-Crisis. If you'll notice on the screen here, he was an ordained minister for 28 years at the time the book was written, and that was in 1980. He volunteered to serve as a chaplain to the pipeliners on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, which began the construction phase in 1974. And I brought up some of the things that he was able to eyewitness, either through these guys' testimony, just talking about what they found there. And they found these huge layers of trees, and it looked like that the area was once a tropical environment. And then he talked about how they had found the same type of stuff in Antarctica at the South Pole. And so, and showing that what he believed that the entire Earth was in a tropical type of environment. And so now they have found dinosaur footprints in Alaska. We talked about that also. And we're not done yet with Antarctica, with some of the things that they found. But if you'll notice on this picture here, this right here is Antarctica. And if you'll notice in the middle there, towards the middle, you'll see a big square there. And it says fossil forest discovered. Fossil forest discovered. And it says a 2017 expedition to the Antarctic mountains uncovered several layers of fossilized tree stumps, which they claim came from 5 forests that grew over millions of years. Millions of years. Now, if you guys would remember the previous videos that we had, I showed you, or we talked about the climate of Antarctica, of how it is in sub-zero, well below sub-zero temperatures, and that it's in darkness for 6 months of the year. There's nothing that grows there, nothing of any substantiality at all, nothing like these fossilized forests were. Now it goes on. It says a team was surprised to discover not just one, but 5 forests piled on top of each other. They claimed the supposedly 260 million year old fossils represent a series of different forests that grew slowly and were buried one on top of the other over millions of years. They also found impressions of long, broad, flat leaves jumbled together in massive mats. These remains have been identified as fossils of an unusual extinct plant called a Glossopteris, which is unlike any plant alive today. Now, if you'll notice here on the geologic time scale, this right here is the Permian period, this area right here, 250 to 300 million years ago. Time period, late Permian and early Triassic, the world is said during this time here, the time period of the late Permian and early Triassic, the world is said to have been a greenhouse, much hotter than it is today. Forest carpeted a non-icy Antarctic. Now, this is evolutionary timelines is what I'm giving you here. The scientists believe that the large deciduous trees, now these are big trees that when you go out to the mountains during the fall time and you see all the tree leaves changing colors and stuff, that's your deciduous trees. They approximated, now listen guys, at 100 feet tall, and they thrived in a much warmer climate. The wood was so well preserved, it contains fossilized plant cells that are preserved down to the cellular level, which gave the ability for them to extract the amino acids that made up the proteins of the trees. Now, I was really tempted to grab some slides out of my microscopic world so we could talk about amino acids and proteins for a little bit. But just to say, the bottom line here, guys, the amino acids is what makes up the proteins. And it's very, very complicated. You just don't throw amino acids together. But you think of proteins as like a sentence, and you would think of the amino acids as the letters in the sentence. That's what you would consider that as. But at any rate, going on, it says one of the researchers commented that the fossilized trees look a lot like the petrified forest of Yellowstone National Park. Now, that is very key. That is very key. I want you guys to remember that one sentence right there. One of the researchers commented that the fossilized trees looked a lot like the petrified forest of Yellowstone National Park. That is very, very important to remember. Now, we're not going to get into any of this right now. This is just going to set the stage to catapult us into these three theories on how they believe those trees got to these polar locations. One is the continent has not always been at the location it is now. The next video that we talk about, that we go into, we're going to start getting into this right here. And then after we finish that topic, we're going to go to the next one that says the trees grew there when the climate was much warmer. That Antarctica has always been where it is, and that the trees grew there when the world was in a much tropical, in more of a tropical climate. And so we'll talk about that one after we get done with one. And then the last theory we're going to talk about is that the trees were transported at the location during the flood, the biblical flood in the Bible, the historical biblical flood, I should say. Now, that one will be the very last one that we'll tackle after we get done with the second theory. But this is what we're going to tackle. We're going to find out. These are your popular theories on how they believe, how people believe, scientists or Christian scientists are saying that these trees got here. So all these theories did not come from secular science, because that third one there, the secular scientists are not going to bring up the biblical flood. So I just need to bring that up. So that's the reason I'm throwing in Christian science, all Christian scientists too. But again, guys, it's a debated theory. These are theories that are being put forth to show that one of these could have actually been the mechanism that got those trees there. But I will say this: they found dinosaur tracks in these areas also. And you're saying, Donnie, you said areas. You mean to tell me that they found dinosaur remains and tracks in the South Pole also? Absolutely. Absolutely. But guys, we're going to stop right there. These three theories is going to take up a large portion, a large portion. And so there's going to be many videos to cover all these. And so we're going to rabbit trail a little bit in some topics here and there. But I guarantee you're going to learn something. You're going to learn something from every one of them. And so there are some really fascinating things here. Now, no matter what anybody believes in these three theories that I talked about, there's one thing that we can agree on, and that is dinosaur remains, footprints, and fossilized forests have been found in the North Pole and in the South Pole. And we're going to get into them. We're going to get into the dinosaur stuff also that has been found in Antarctica. But they have found them in these areas, and especially Antarctica. It is harsh. You're not going to find anything much that's going to live there at all. And we have already went through that. If you haven't, just go to my previous videos and you'll see where I talk about the climate of Antarctica. Something was different on our planet. Something was different on our planet. The planet was way totally different than it is now. And so you got to remember that. The way we see our planet today is not the way it has always been. And so when you look at it with a biblical worldview, the scripture has some unique things to say about that, about the old world. And so, and plus we can see evidence from the fossil record to show that the world was different, and so again, I don't want to get too much into that right now. We're going to talk about all that stuff in the videos to come. But you guys take care. I love you, and I hope the Lord blesses you real good. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.